Was abused physically, mentally, and emotionally, guys. Hey squad, it's your girl Diana today on this beautiful, guys. When I say beautiful, I mean beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. I have to think of the date. But anyway, guys, the topic today is that how do you know when you have a good man? How do you recognize a good man? Well, I'm going to give you some of what I have learned along the way of life when it came to relationships. Yeah, so stay tuned and let's go ahead and get into the video. I almost dropped the phone. Video. All right, guys. Some of you may know, or some of you may not. I'm 50. I turned 50 in December, and I've had my share of relationships, and I question myself because I've had some really bad relationships, and so I kind of question myself on how do you know when you have a good relationship, or those certain things or certain matters or whatever the case may be. But I've been in some pretty bad relationships too, guys. I've been in abusive relationships. I'm talking about emotional, physical, mental, yeah, those type of relationships. And I tell you, none of it was easy. It really affected me in so many different ways. I'm talking about from being emotionally, let's talk about that. The emotional part of it was that when you love someone and you know that you genuinely love somebody, you are hoping that they genuinely love you too. But at the same time, as you go into the relationship, you realize that you don't know if they really love you or not. And so you're like, I just don't know. So yeah, I've been in that type of relationship from being called names, being even told things like you're fat, nobody's gonna want you, I made you, these little slogans they throw out at you, things like just different stuff, things to try to tear you down, things to try to make you think that you're nothing and that you're nobody. So being young at the time when I first started going through that, I was young, and I realized, hey, I began to believe just what I was told. I believe that because let me tell you something, growing up, I had a problem with my self-esteem because of being a large person, being an overweight person. And I had a problem with that. And then when I got into a relationship that I thought was good, I had even more problems with that because of the way I was talked down to. And then I began to believe it, and then I stayed with the person because in my mind, it was like telling me nobody's really gonna want me. I'm just gonna deal with whatever he puts out. I'm gonna deal with that because I didn't know any better. So mentally, what it done to me, the mental abuse part of it was it made me become depressed. I got into a very depressive stage in my life, guys, that just it took me into a bad place. I had to end up on medications because I was so depressed, and the doctor felt like, we got something for you. And that only made me become more depressed because it's not what I needed. What I was searching for was love. What I wanted was love. But when a person becomes to the point of emotionally abusing you, you become into the mental abuse, then other things are said and done that you really don't want to be done, but it happens. And so I dealt with that, believing that I was depressed and all this type of stuff, and that I was scarred, and I began to believe my own lies. So that's what mental abuse will do to you. Mental abuse will make you think you're crazy, and you're not. You're not crazy. So then the other part, I got into a relationship. Actually, I got into a relationship with one of my children's fathers, and who I really thought loved me. I mean, he did everything right in the beginning. At least I thought. I wouldn't know because I didn't know the signs of a good man. All I knew was I'd go by what I seen. I was living by my feelings. But anyway, this here particular guy, did me right, taught me how to dress right, taught me how to look good when I go out, because he was the type of man that when he stepped out, I don't care if he went to the grocery store, he was dressed from head to toe. That was just that was his way of living. And eventually he taught me to dress like that, not to leave the house no any kind of way, but to dress up, be dressed. Not, I'm talking about heels and things, I'm talking about decently looking, nice looking. I'm talking about almost like you're going going somewhere. Okay, I don't care if it's to the convenience store. So anyway, this guy here put me through changes, guys. Put me through a lot of changes, but I loved him. I was in love with him, but he became a person that I never thought I would see. You know, I never thought this guy would do what he done to me. So there was a time we moved out of town together, and I thought everything was going well. Then all of a sudden, another side of him began to come out. The abusive side. This was the one that was abusive. This was the one that put his hands on me. You understand? This is the one that he felt every sign of abuse that was listed. Emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. You name it, he did it. So what the first time I had never in my life been hit by a man. I said I would never go through that, because I seen my mother get abused. I seen my mom be beat, and I seen my mom have to deal with I'm sorry, but all right, hold on, guys, I'm back. I had that. When I think about that, it just makes me get emotional. Okay, so I see my mom go through abuse, and I said in my life, I ain't never let no man put his hand on me. Well, I didn't plan for that to happen, but it happened. One day, we were living, my cousin stayed not too far from me, and she would always come and visit me. And just so happened on this particular day, she had some of her friends with her. Not for me, but she came and they were with her. She knocked on the door. At that time, my husband went to the store. And when he came back from the store, he seen these two guys with her. And he didn't say anything. My husband walked to the door and he punched me in my face. I fell over the couch. I hit the coffee table that we had. My face, my eye was so big. I didn't understand why. I had never in my life been hit by a man, especially, or it doesn't even, let's leave out especially. I hit by someone that I was in love with and that I thought loved me. This man hit me for no reason at all, because he assumed that my cousin was bringing these guys and one was for me. He eventually got into it with those guys, and I didn't even know what to do. I was shocked. I was really shocked. And this night, my children were at my mother's house. We had moved out of town, and they were visiting my mom. So it was just him and I. We were having a great evening, guys. We were having a great evening. We were watching movies. We were just chilling, having a great evening, and then that happened. So let me tell you something. If you ever been abused, you guys will know what I'm talking about, ladies. You will know that I seen that night the trait that happened to my mom. After this man hit me, he proceeded to, I'm sorry, baby. I love you. I don't know what got into me. And I'm at the same time, like, still in shock, like, what the heck just happened? He hit me with, this man's not, he was very strong. He hit me with everything he had. And so I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even see him from that day or from that night. I did not see him the same. Make a long story short, I forgave him. We went on, and things were somewhat back to normal. My family was very upset. My mom, I tried to hide it with the sunglasses. I tried to avoid seeing my mom. I tried to avoid my children seeing it. They were small. At that time, I had my son and my daughter. I only had 2 kids at that time, and they were small, and I didn't want my kids to see that. And at that time, my children loved him. So, we had been together for quite some time. Just when I thought it was all over, time had passed, like months had passed on, and there was a time, and this man, and I'm telling y'all this for a reason. It's taken a lot for me to even tell y'all about this, but I feel like someone needs to hear this. I stayed with him, and eventually, later on down the line, it happened again. This time, it was worse than the first time. This man assumed again, because someone knocked at the door. This time, we're at my mom's house. I went to cook breakfast, and this man assumed that the person that was coming there to pick up my mother's boyfriend at the time to go to work, my husband, was angry, wanted me to, we had a great morning. I was going to make breakfast in the kitchen, washing dishes to get the kitchen ready for food. And this man tells me to come back in the room. I'm thinking he's joking, guys. I'm really thinking he's joking. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, I'm in here getting the kitchen. So he comes in the kitchen. He's like, get in the room. And I'm like, for what? Like, I'm still thinking that he's playing. So, guys, at the time, And I'm like, leave me alone. Because I'm thinking that he's joking. Guys, when I tell you, he turned from the sweetest man that morning to a beast. This man grabbed me by my hair, proceeded to try to drag me out of the kitchen to the room. And at that time, I had a pot in my hand, and my reflex was to hit him. I took the pot and swung the pot, and that was the biggest mistake I could have made. Let me tell you something, ladies. You cannot beat a man. I'm not saying you can't hurt him, but you can't beat him, not physically fighting. I proceeded to try to fight, and it only got worse until my mother's boyfriend broke it up. But by the time he broke it up, this guy had hit me so much in my face that I had 2 black eyes. I had a contusion on the top of my head. I could barely even focus. I could barely even see. I was almost out. They took me and they sit me in a chair. This man, my husband at the time, had to leave because at that time my son was there. He was a little boy. They called the police. This guy proceeds to leave. As he leaves, I'm sitting in a chair, guys. He walks by and he takes his fist and he hits me with everything he had until I was almost knocked out, and then he left. I mean, let me tell you, physical abuse is no joke. It did happen 2 other times after that. Guys, I went back. And people would say, why did you go back? Let me tell you something, ladies. I understand if you've been in this situation or if you're in it now, it's not easy leaving. People don't understand that we want to leave, but we feel like we are tied into that relationship. We feel like we can't go. We feel like we think about all the things that have been told to us during those stages that I just mentioned of physical abuse, emotional abuse. Let me tell you something. I wanted to leave, but I wasn't strong enough to leave. And it was a time when I got beat. So, I got beat to the point I got my children and I left. But I went back. I left and I go back. And every time I went back, it got worse. Till finally one day, I really got tired of being abused. I got tired of it. I left. I took my children. I left everything I had. And I left. But look how long it took me before I left. You understand what I'm saying? So I ask you again. The reason I'm telling you this is because I asked the question in the title of this video is, you see what the title is. But the thing after that is, how do you recognize a good man? So I left finally, guys, and I didn't go back. I began to get my life together, but I was really hurting. I was scarred. I didn't trust me, and I felt like every man was gonna play me, abuse me. And I still dealt with some of that issue, but I didn't deal with any more physical abuse. I was not going to tolerate that no more. If I thought you wanted to hit me, I was out. If I thought you didn't want to treat me right, I was out. And that's how I had to live. No, I didn't have to. That's how I lived because I needed to be healed of emotional, physical, and mental abuse. Let me tell you something. It is no joke for your children to see you, and I don't know if my children remember. My son does. And at the time, your children, if you have children that are involved, your children, your sons will believe that that's the way that you're supposed to deal with a woman in a relationship. When my children, my son, seeing these things happen, my son told me himself, when he was a little boy, this is what my son said. My son said, Mom, stop making him mad. He's going to hit you. It's your fault. Mama, you're making him mad. And I didn't even have a rebuttal. I didn't really know what to say to my son. I actually believed what my son said as well because I was messed up in my head, guys. I was messed up. And that's why it bothers me so much when I see even my daughters go through anything in these type of relationships, and I'm telling them, like I was saying, I know what it's like to be stuck in a relationship and thinking that you could just leave, or thinking that they could just leave. It's not that easy. It takes, sometimes it just takes so much, but it takes somebody telling their story of what they went through. If I had pictures to show you guys, I would. When I tell you this eye was closed, this eye was up, and I had a contusion on my head the size of that, literally of a 50-cent piece that was there. And how I can't say if I allowed it. I didn't know any better. I had never been through that. So ladies, I know it's not easy. I know that you want to leave. I know you want to leave, but I didn't have anybody to confide in, and I didn't want to worry my mom. But my mom probably would have killed him. you know, and I tried to protect him even though I got abused. And some of you may think, oh, that's crazy. No, it's not that it's crazy. It's because I did not know any better, you know. And when it comes to children being involved and children seeing this type of abuse, they think that it's okay. And at the time, I didn't know how to talk to my children and tell them that it's not okay to go through this, not okay to deal with this or accept it. I didn't know how, but I thank God that my children didn't get to really, they seen maybe one time. I don't know if they remember. My son remembers, but I don't know if my other daughter, my oldest daughter, I don't know if she remembers the abuse or not. But I just thank God now that is, let's fast forward now. And I thank God for the change. I thank God that I know my worth now. I know I'm beautiful. You know, I know that I can be accepted into a good relationship because I'm in a great, awesome relationship now. I'm in a relationship, let me tell you, I didn't know how to deal with a man being good to me. I'm not used to it. And I thank God that my significant other is patient with me. He loves me for who I am. He accepts me for my flaws and all. He loves me unconditionally. You know, it's not about how I look, what I can do. It's not about that. He brings the best out of me. We bring the best out of each other. How did I recognize that I have a good man? Because things have happened and I could tell him and he understands and he doesn't judge me. And my children love him and they're grown. I'm sorry. They're adult children and they see the good that he does in my life. We help to build each other up. In our lowest points, we are there. I got his back and he got mine. You know, matter of fact, he don't want to hear about the past. He don't want to hear about that. It's the future now. You know, and I thank God every day for him. I thank God. You know, we're not the perfect couple, but we do have a great, perfect love. We love each other and we understand each other. And I thank God that the abuse did not scar me enough to where I would not want to be in a relationship again. Only God healed me. Ladies, let me tell you something. When you're in an abusive relationship, you're going to need God to heal you of your wounds that you had, the scars that you had that are not closed up. I made this video because I wanted to reach ladies who have been in this situation of any type of abuse. And ladies, I want you to know that you are not alone. You're not alone. But in the midst of your healing, you're going to need God. You know, I love you, and I pray that God will release you out of these bad, abusive relationships and heal you completely so that you can trust when he sends that man of God. I'm going to claim it for you. When he sends that man into your life. I love you, D Squad. And if you could do me one favor, and I never asked this, share this video because you just never know when there's someone who is looking for help. I didn't know how to look for help. But I made it. I made it. So with that being said, squad, I love you guys. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video. Bye, guys.